Did you do it for us, or did you do it for you? And when you brag about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that were raised in your initiative to raise $1 million to support me, because without me, there is no your support.
Welcome, patrons. We're back in the library, and today we're digging into more about the sacred records. Specifically, I want to tell you the story of Chief Midegah and his involvement with the Church of Jesus Christ, one of the largest subgroups of the Latter-day Saint tradition. Has its founding to the 1850s by a man named William Bickerton. William Bickerton joined the Church of Jesus Christ, led by Sidney Rigdon in 1845. Once he left Sidney Rigdon, he would join Brigham Young's community, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that I belong to. But eventually he left both movements, and he claimed that he had a vision to found his own church. He said he saw himself standing on the highest mountain on earth. And in that vision, he understood that he had a mission to preach from only the Bible and the Book of Mormon. And if he didn't, he would fall into a dreadful chasm. And from that experience, one of the defining principles of the Bickertonite church was established. They commit themselves almost entirely to the Bible and the Book of Mormon. Doctrine and Covenants is not scripture for the Bickertonites. But what really makes this church stand out is how they interpret their place in Latter-day prophecy. Like most Latter-day Saint groups, Bickertonites teach that Native Americans descend from the house of Israel, specifically from the tribe of Joseph.
The scriptures talk about themes like the gathering of Israel, Zion, the New Jerusalem, the latter days. What does this all mean?
With the understanding of the Book of Mormon, that we would continue not only to preach the gospel to all men and women, but even more from a divine commission perspective, focusing on ensuring that Joseph, those indigenous people on the land of America, learn of Christ and learn of their history, learn of the record of their people, and learn of these prophecies that will be fulfilled. And most importantly, learn of the hope of salvation.
That part's fairly common across the restoration. It's, 2 Nephi 3 will tell us the story of Lehi talking about his descent through Joseph. It's there that we learn of a figure named the choice seer. Now, most Latter-day Saints believe the choice seer is Joseph Smith, the prophet. Bickertonites actually believe Joseph Smith is a precursor to the choice seer, who will be a Native American prophet who will appear in the last days and bring forth the sealed record. That is the rest of the Book of Mormon. This idea lines up closely with the views of David Whitmer, one of the three witnesses of the Book of Mormon. Whitmer believed there would be a future Native American prophet named Joseph who would rise up in the latter days. Bickertonites, picking up on this idea, describe having what they call a divine commission to go to the Native Americans, teach them about the Book of Mormon, do humanitarian work, and ultimately invite them into Christ's church. And part of their hope is that through this mission, they will also identify this prophesied choice seer. Bickertonites want to get things moving among indigenous people to locate the prophesied messianic figure, Joseph, the one who will gather Israel and bring forth additional records connected to the other tribes.
And there's a detail given about this particular individual in 2 Nephi chapter 3. It describes him and describes his mission, right? But the best way to summarize it is he'll be one of the house of Joseph. So as we today as Gentiles are going to the descendants of Joseph and sharing the gospel with them, sharing about the Book of Mormon and so forth, mean, we're not seeing, a whole bunch of them jumping up and, oh yeah, okay, I believe I'm going to be baptized, I'm going to be part of this, a little bit here and there, right? But it's just spotty, right? But in Second Nephi chapter 3, it says that the choice seer, who is one of them, will be mighty in convincing them, that his word will convince the members of the descendants of Joseph as to who they are. And it says he'll convince them of the words which have already gone forth among them. So we're doing the bring the words forth among them, and the choice seer will be the convincer. He'll come and again, maybe it's because he's one of them, mostly because he'll carry the Spirit of God, that he'll be convincing to the house of Joseph. And then we're going to see them come in great numbers. And that's when we know we're really close then, because now the house of Joseph is believing, then the house of Israel will start to gather, and we'll see that the events that lead up to Zion take the next step. And then after that, it becomes the actual, if you will, building of the city, which is referred to in a couple of places. So those are kind of the next things we look for: the coming of the choice seer, then the building of a city called the New Jerusalem. Where will it be? What will it look like? When will that start? We leave that in God's hand. But when you see the house of Joseph start to believe in great numbers, and you see somebody kind of in the center of that, one of them, you'll know that's the choice seer, and then you'll know that we're coming really close.
This is where the story gets interesting and connected to the sacred records. In recent years, David Taylor, known as Chief Midegah, has made claims that sound strikingly similar to what Bickertonites have already been expecting for generations. Midegah has said that he is here to help gather the native tribes. He has also claimed that he has records, and he frequently uses apocalyptic language, sometimes in ways that closely resemble Bickertonite eschatology. So when you place these two narratives side by side, the long-standing prophetic expectation of the Bickertonite church and the public claims being made by Midegah, particularly since he became a member of the Bickertonite faith, the overlap's impossible to ignore. In this video, we're going to explore how the relationship between Chief Midegah and the Church of Jesus Christ developed in the first place. We're going to look at how that relationship became surprisingly close, how and why it eventually began to fracture, and why parts of it were questioned both publicly and internally. We're also going to take a careful look at what the situation appears to be today, including the lingering question of whether there is still any meaningful connection between Midegah and the Church of Jesus Christ at all. Because at this point, we don't really have a clear answer. The church has distanced itself from David Taylor, but I've heard rumors just recently that members of the church leadership still believe that David Taylor is sent by God, that members of the Church of Jesus Christ are still appearing and speaking at David Midegah's events. Based on available reports and public statements, it appears that David Taylor's contact with the Church of Jesus Christ likely began sometime in 2024. Things then moved fairly quickly. On January 26, 2025, David Taylor was baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ. That baptism did not go unnoticed. Podcaster Stephen Pinecker of the Mormon Book Reviews publicly reported on the event and expressed clear enthusiasm about what it could mean.
Breaking news. Chief Midegah is going to be baptized tomorrow into the Church of Jesus Christ.
He framed Taylor's baptism as potentially historic, not only for the Bickertonite church, but for the broader Latter-day Saint movement as a whole. Given the church's long-standing focus on Native American outreach and its apocalyptic expectations surrounding Israel's gathering, the moment carried a sense of real possibility for many observers. From what can be gathered through reporting and firsthand accounts, the church didn't treat David Taylor like he was just a new convert. They treated him like he was a big deal. He was seen, at least by many members, as someone who could potentially open doors for the church that had never been opened before. Church members were told that Chief Midegah was a legitimate native chief who had taken a genuine interest in the church and held a leadership role that could give the Church of Jesus Christ special access to Native American communities that had historically been difficult for them to reach. So in that context, Taylor's baptism wasn't just spiritually meaningful, it also looked to be strategic. Now, importantly, the Church of Jesus Christ has never called David Taylor the choice seer. On the other hand, David Taylor has begun to call himself Joseph, son of Joseph, a clear reference to the 2 Nephi 3 prophecy. Now, I find this particularly interesting because when David Midegah first showed up and began to appear in Latter-day Saint podcasts, he identified as a Lamanite. And now, one of the most important factors in the world for him is that he's a Josephite.
We are elders by priesthood authority. I am not a Lamanite. I am from the house of Joseph. I am from the Midegah we win. I am from the Starlin bloodline.
But Bickertonites had something to gain from Chief Midegah, even if they didn't see him as Joseph, as he claimed. They saw him as a doorway to communities. Church of Jesus Christ was holding its winter session conference in Mesa, Arizona from January 24th to the 26th. This is the very same time frame and the same location where David Taylor received his baptism. During that conference, Chief Midegah was invited to speak from the pulpit multiple times. In one notable moment, President Joel Geely, who's not considered a prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ, but he is the president and an apostle, brought Midegah up to the front. Midegah then shared an account of a personal experience in which he described being healed due to President Geely's prayer.
And when I went, and so in December, I had the privilege of meeting President Geely, and he was with Brother Wayne and Brother John Wayne, and hanging out with the Indians. It's the only John Wayne I like. And they gave me an anointing. It was an anointing, and he commanded in that very moment for the pain to go away. And I felt as if somebody grabbed my spine and yanked me tall. And immediately the pain went away. I actually felt like a little kid for over a week. They know it was like I was just completely shocked. And I knew that in that very moment that I had met an apostle of Jesus Christ.
You need to understand, this is not just a normal conference. Chief Midegah, Native American convert, gets up to speak and testifies that President Geely, the head of the Church of Jesus Christ, enacted a miracle, resulting in his healing. For many watching both inside and outside the church, that amplified the sense that something important was unfolding. Interestingly, about 2 months later, in March of 2025, the relationship appeared to deepen even further. At that time, Chief Midegah invited several members, including leadership figures from the church, to participate in what was described as a native ceremony in the Yucatan region of Mexico. Word spread among the members of the Bickertonite church, encouraging people to pray for the trip, almost as though it were being framed as a kind of missionary outreach opportunity. And according to available accounts, the invitation was taken seriously. President Joel Geely, along with other leaders from the Church of Jesus Christ, traveled to the Yucatan and attended this conference. While they were there, the church provided copies of the Book of Mormon to people in attendance. But what makes this moment especially noteworthy is that it wasn't simply a visit. Reports indicate that the president of the church and other leaders also participated in the ceremonies themselves, taking part alongside Midegah in these events. And Midegah documented the entire trip.
200 years ago, Europeans on our land found one of many records. It told them we were sacred, that we had a peacemaker too.
We are from the Church of the Peacemaker. The Peacemaker has revealed to us that there is a new day starting.
Now they return to our communities to return our heart that they've been carrying. We have a rainbow with no rain. One story of our people. And so I return it to the tree, the first of many to come home. The peacemaker brings all into one. She miigwech.
So by this point, the relationship between Mitiga and the Church of Jesus Christ was no longer something happening quietly in the background. It had become public, visible, and increasingly difficult to separate from the church's broader identity and mission. When the missionaries and church leadership came back from the trip to the Yucatan, they appeared excited to talk about it publicly. In early April of 2025, evangelist Josh Geely, the son of President Joel Geely, went on Mormon Book Reviews to recap what he described as their missionary trip.
We were in the Yucatan. We were invited there as a church. We were the only church that was invited to participate in this gathering of indigenous and tribal leaders. There were tribal leaders, including chiefs and grand chiefs and matriarchs, or in many cultures would call them grandmothers, from North, Central, and South America, as far south as Colombia, as far north as Canada. And they gathered with messages of bridge building. Rainbow Bridge was kind of a theme, and bridge building, peacemaking, and working together and integrating as indigenous peoples. And we were there in support and in love for those efforts of unity that they were making for each other. And so we were invited to go. And as we went, we had a lot of blessings, and we had the opportunity to present to 50 different leaders of indigenous leaders that represent groups from all over the continent. We were able to present them what we had called it was our Spanish edition of the Book of Mormon. So we had our Spanish edition, and we had it with a respectful cover that matched the color of one of our earlier burgundy prints that said the Nephite record, and talked about our beliefs for the indigenous people and the hope that we have for them in Christ. And so we were able to present that in a sacred ceremony with them.
The missionaries wore special medallions made specifically for the trip.
Everybody that was in attendance received a pennant, either in Spanish or in English. It had the logo of the Church of Jesus Christ on it, and it said Jesus Christ. It says Jesus Christ is the peacemaker. And on those pennants are the colors of tribal peace from the wampum belt with some of the northern tribes. The purple and the white represented some of the peace treaties that have been offered in the past that are still highly regarded and respected by the indigenous people today. So in all of our efforts, we're trying to be very respectful to the culture and to the people.
In that interview, he spoke about what they believed was a miracle, describing a rainbow that appeared above them during the visit.
Both times that the Nephite records were being presented on a cloudless or partly cloudy sky with no thought of rain, a large rainbow crossed the sky. And it was amazing to see that happen. I've never seen a rainbow. The second time it happened, there were no clouds in the sky. It was a cloudless sky. And as Brother David Midegah and as Brother Joel Geely were presenting the Nephite records, were presenting the Book of Mormon and sharing the gospel, a beautiful rainbow stretched across the sky to the awe of all participants, because there was no cloud. There was no rain cloud. Just amazing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And the contexts we have now are wonderful. And we're pursuing both humanitarian assistance and missionary efforts. I can't tell you how appreciative some of the Maya people were that the Church of Jesus Christ, without any thought of reward or any thought of, well, we'll do this so that this can happen, but just out of love for the people, would accommodate their desire to build a bridge to help connect them to some communities and help connect them for some economy efforts that they're making. And the church funded that effort in full. and directly to them. And so they were incredibly appreciative of our love and our support for the indigenous people of the Americas.
Throughout the recap of the Yucatan trip, there was a sense that doors were opening and that meaningful progress was being made in their outreach to Native communities. And they were very much looking forward to the upcoming General Conference.
And what's interesting, just to kind of tie this in, is actually some of these indigenous peoples will be participating in your General Conference, including Chief Midegah, next week. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're excited. There are close to a few dozen indigenous people that are planning to attend our conference. They are having a gathering earlier that week, and then they are staying and participating all weekend with our General Church Conference. So it's just a wonderful show of respect from them to us. Honestly, I couldn't be more honored to consider some of the leading chiefs and truly highly regarded men and women that will be there. Some of the spiritual grandmothers are attending as well. So it's going to be a great honor and blessing. We cannot wait to welcome them with open arms and in the love of Christ.
Now, alongside everything Josh discussed in that interview, there was also another important development happening at the same time. Just before the church's General Conference, a separate Native gathering was scheduled to take place, one that Mitiga was helping to host. President Joel Geely and other leaders from the Bickertonite church were planning to attend. During that gathering, Mitiga and Sherry Cardinal presented eagle feathers to President Geely and 2 other evangelists. In many Native American traditions, eagle feathers carry deep cultural and symbolic meaning, often representing honor and respect.
To Brother Joel, the highest honor I can give you is to recognize you are an eagle flying high. Stay out of my bedroom when I'm sleeping, okay? But please accept this as a token of our brotherhood that we'll fly high together. And it's just a tremendous, great honor. Just a tremendous honor to be your brother.
So the presentation of those eagle feathers was not a small gesture. It reflected a visible act of honor being extended to the leadership of the Church of Jesus Christ. And once again, it reinforced the sense that this relationship between Chief Midegah and the church was continuing to deepen in a very public and meaningful way. Then, at the Church of Jesus Christ's April General Conference, Midegah addressed the congregation directly from the pulpit. He also led a procession inside the church headquarters building. This was not a quiet or incidental moment. And as a side reference, this is also the conference where Sherry Cardinal states she was pressured to join to be baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ. Nevertheless, as Midegah walked down the aisle, people in the congregation stood up. The atmosphere carried a sense of significance, as though the congregation understood that this was an important guest being publicly recognized. There were also seats reserved specifically for Midegah and those who had come with him. In the front of the chapel, a couple of rows of pews were set aside. These were reserved for Midegah for those who believed in or supported his mission, and for other dignitaries or special guests the church intended to honor for that conference. Notably, Stephen Pinecker of Mormon Book Reviews filmed the moment and later posted it on his YouTube channel, making the event publicly viewable beyond those physically present. There was something else happening at the same General Conference, an effort to raise money to publish a Church of Jesus Christ Book of Mormon, to be published both in Spanish and Mayan. That is, they were raising money. In the conference, $200,000 were raised, and according to unconfirmed rumors, perhaps $750,000 have been raised up to this point. And at the time, it appeared to be another sign of momentum, a visible partnership, a shared mission, resources being mobilized. But this is also the point in the story where, according to Midegah's later statements and videos, the relationship between Midegah and the church began to shift. What had seemed aligned, energized, and forward moving would soon begin to show signs of strain. Now, publicly, the church was moving forward with the fundraiser. The goal was ambitious. The messaging was confident. The fundraiser had momentum. But according to Chief Mitigah's later statements, not everything behind the scenes was as unified as it appeared publicly. Towards the end of May 2025, Midegah began posting videos on his YouTube channel, addressing what he described as serious disagreements with leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ. In total, he released 2 lengthy videos, together nearly 6 hours long. They laid out his perspective on what he believed had gone wrong.
I have given every other branch an opportunity to participate. And I am telling you, as I'm told them, I don't need you. We don't need corporations. And that's not air. Well, then fine, go do it yourself. We are testing you to see if you will fulfill your obligations or be wiped away in the fire with the rest of Babylon that you so acutely cling to with your 401ks, knowing that the average valuation of one of your American homes, the wealth you've been blessed with by our inheritance of one of your American homes, is enough, if sold, to provide communication and teaching centers to 24/7 teach the Peacemaker's teachings in 68 Mayan communities. Bamboo buildings is what we asked for. I am not worried at all. And there's nothing, and I'm going to repeat this. There is nothing that is withheld that you have to offer me. So stop acting as if you do. What's being withheld is what I have to offer you. Oh, here we go. You're going to say, oh, we got another arrogant, another Christamelka, another this guy, and another. No, there's only one Messiah, the great peacemaker, and he's coming for us. He's our friend. He's coming to judge you. And I am bringing back many of those in my family back into the protection of that covenant, because that is my power and authority upon this earth to seal and bind. So if I'm just some fake and fraud, as many of these churches have claimed for the last year, and it's done nothing to stop anything other than we've got a video recording this on the most sacred, holy grounds that there is in the Americas. You didn't stop anything, and you're certainly not going to stop anything by withholding from us any of your money. We wouldn't see it anyways. We have no idea what's actually been raised by the Church of Jesus Christ. What we know is last fall, Zion Media raised for money for me, and I never got to know. And then there was a big distance when I asked. Yeah, I just started a big separation. No, you're a big fake and fraud because I asked what you're doing with the money that was received. Is it my job to pay for other people's stuff, or is it your job to support the things you'd raised for? And then we go to this church, and they immediately meet the call. And I do want to say this because maybe it's a big misunderstanding, but I'm not the guy who's going to accept anybody claiming to be an apostle of Jesus Christ, number one, who does not have a personal witness. And if you don't, you better pause before you start lecturing me. I have a master's degree, all A's and 1 B+. My transcripts are released. I've already spoken to 2 lawyers that are our lawyers before we ever walked into this about what's going on. In Church of Jesus Christ, you stood up and you raised money for the House of Joseph initiative to build a bridge, meaning you acknowledged that you were asking your people to support us in our projects that you then visually saw immediately occur. Transparency. And then in return, we went to your conference and you did great things for us to get us there. But did you do it for us? Or did you do it for you? And when you brag about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that were raised in your initiative to raise $1 million to support me, because without me, there is no your support. earlier I shared some out into the street, some of the dirty laundry, and some of that laundry is we had partnered with the Church of Jesus Christ. And they had assisted us with releasing to their members a call for action, and their members answered that call. And they assisted, the membership assisted, and many others with donations, free will offerings to assist us with a bridge to get into a sacred community that will be the central hub for our spiritual unity from the Arctic to the Antarctic. And it was the members, the peoples, human beings that did this, families that sacrificed for this. And from there, we welcomed them down into the Yucatan to the highest ceremony and the most sacred ceremonial grounds that was ran and governed by the Mayan peoples and the very elders who govern what occurs at these sacred sites such as Palenque and Chichen Itza. And these are the very highest Mayan priesthood holders that carry a lineal priesthood. And so they're not just elders because they're old people. And so there's been a couple of things that have occurred. And so following there, we went and spoke at two general conferences. One was at the Joint Conference of Restoration Branches in Missouri. And the other was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with the Church of Jesus Christ, where we had a conference also where we welcomed in elders to speak from around the continents. And it was just tremendous. From there, after I spoke, there was a call out to the general body through their conference, an explanation of what had occurred, and then a call to raise $1 million by the fall to make sure we hit the goal with the Book of Mormon request. Following that, we had kind of some problems. Some of the problems are one of the elders went onto a video where they were obviously trying to raise money, but one of the things they shared publicly was that they met elders, but they're not elders how we are elders. They're just because they're old people. This offended some of the actual elders greatly because they're not elders because they're old. They're elders because they're carrying lineal authority in the position that they have. And this European arrogance that maybe was unintentional, it was received very poorly, and we're tired of being the ones to have to apologize. That was at the same time another member of the 70, that was the president of the Quorum of the 70, that the former member of the Quorum of the 70 began a tirade through my phone and through my email about the Heavenly Mother, about the divine feminine, and about the earth, and about our earth worship and our focus on women. And this caused quite the confrontation, because I am not just some regular guy in the street that you're having a conversation with about what you don't like as a white person. I am a chief of the highest level traditionally, representing nations in Central and South America. You are guests in our ceremonies and in our communities. And they wanted me to apologize for being offended, that we were offended by what they did that was completely irrational and ridiculous. As I said, you raised money in our name. So we should have some sort of say in how that money is distributed and to what projects that are interlapping. They're overlapping and they go together. And I was told, I just wanted them, if I got contacted by their one of their 70, who's the head of the Indian ministries, who said that, they're trying to keep a quorum together and there might be division, or there is division in their leadership and on what to do, meaning they got money in a bank account and they certainly don't want the Indian having any say on it because, to them, we lack priesthood, we lack authority, we're just dumb Lamanites. I am from the house of Joseph. And that's what happened earlier and why I was so upset. I asked for transparency, for the right for us to participate in oversight, and for the funding to be balanced into what we initially agreed upon, and for the donation portal to be utilized for the house of Joseph. And that means we have some sort of say in it. All of that's no, it's just them. I was told point blank, they are the Church of the Peacemaker. Well, then good, you can peacemake all you want by yourself in an echo chamber. So yes, and I was told I'm just trying to start some new church, even though the filing by Joseph Smith on April 6, 1830 in New York in Seneca County was 42 years before William Bickerton's filing of the Church of Jesus Christ. What are you talking about? A new church? Isn't that what William Bickerton did? So I'm trying to be respectful here of branches, knowing full well that the tree is the midday we win. You are on our land as a guest in our territory, as a steward of our book, and we've reclaimed it, and we are bringing our people back into the presence of the peacemaker. And my commission was given to me by Heavenly Father and the great peacemaker, Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus Christ. and the 3 Nephites who did not appear in Kirtland, but they did appear to us April 6th, 2021 in the Garden River Ojibwe Nation at Trap Rock, where I received that council fire rock that had sat there for almost 200 years, waiting for somebody to find what was left by the trail. Chiefs that had gone there to take a right instead of a left, always following the beautiful trail. I saw the heat waves and went to the right and found the cave. And you don't have anything to offer me. And so that's the reason that I think I'm upsetting so many of these churches is I'm not acting as if they have something I need. I don't need your priesthood. I don't need your baptism. I don't need your Holy Ghost. I don't need you to lecture me. I'm trying to save our people from your people, from your society. You are responsible to hand that money over to our projects or give it back. But you can't allocate it to other things, which has happened. And so that's what caused the disconnect. And it's not that Midegah is out of school and out of place. It's once again, the white man is taking advantage of the Indian. For you forgetting, we have PhDs and master's degrees, and my transcripts are better than yours. What they have forgotten is who I am and the position I hold, and they saw me elevated into it in the Mayan bioregion by the Mayan, and it was confirmed by all the other regions. And not only that, but I raised up a chief and commanded 2 other nations to confirm it right there in that ceremony, in that territory. And I already let them know we've been letting them know the whole time. And so the doors are closed now.
By this point, what had publicly looked like a strong and growing partnership was now beginning to show visible strain. The Church of Jesus Christ took formal action in late May 2025. According to reporting, the Quorum of 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ decided to suspend David Taylor from the church. In practical terms, that meant he was no longer permitted to partake of the sacrament.
I'm really saddened to report this news. As you know, I have a very close relationship with the Church of Jesus Christ. I also interviewed Chief Mitiga when he first got baptized into that church. And that was the first conversation I ever had with him. And the last conversation I had with him was attending at the General Conference, the baptism of 12 new members into the Church of Jesus Christ. Now, this does not mean he was excommunicated or disfellowshipped. I'm not speaking for the church here, but I've been told that the door is open to David Taylor, Chief Midegah, for any time, hopefully for restoration and a time of healing. So I'm hopeful that that will be the case. I just want to tell everybody, just keep the Church of Jesus Christ in your prayers.
Then in early June of 2025, Chief Midegah sent an email to President Joel Geely, along with others. In that message, Midegah warned Geely that judgment rested over his church. At the same time, David Taylor also offered an opportunity for reconciliation, suggesting that the relationship and the broader partnership between their groups could still potentially be repaired. Part of the email reads, President Geely, inquire before you try to assume I am lacking in anything. The hand of judgment rests over your church. We seek nothing but inclusion and a voice. The simplest thing is to provide it and then do a joint conference to state the misunderstandings. We have not ever been listened to, and for someone who sat there, as I showed you, every single migration over 4,000 years into North America, I am stunned by your denial of our involvement in the House of Joseph initiative. You actually met the ones who can close all the doors for you, and you still act like you have an initiative without us. We did not provide any further ceremonies or dates due to this lack of inclusion. Regards, Midegah. I want you to pay attention to that line there. Midegah is one who can close all the doors for you. A few days later, Chief Midegah sent another email to President Geely with a much softer tone, inviting the Church of Jesus Christ to a formal reconciliation meeting. He copied several other people on the message, including a journalist. We do not know if any leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ actually attended this meeting, but here's a copy of the formal invitation that arrived a few days later. To whom it may concern, this letter is to confirm that the Indian Ministry Council of the Americas, headquartered in Grain Valley, Missouri, is hosting Mayan chief Mima Irma Nanette Estrada Bayeres for a week of conferences, the Hummingbird Tribal and Interfaith Gathering, and ceremonies in collaboration with the Joint Conference of Restoration Branches, the Church of Jesus Christ, the First Peoples Community of Christ, the Church of Christ in the Land of Zion, First Circle Chief Disciples, Sown Haven Ministries, the Zioneer Interfaith and Tribal Group, the Red Bear Band of Pembina Chippewa Indians, and the Neminha people. My friends, we just listed an entire group of individuals, and I believe with a little digging, we would find out that several of these groups are distinct people, but also several of these groups are the exact same body of people. After all this, Chief Mitiga still appeared to remain under suspension from the Church of Jesus Christ. There was no public announcement indicating that the suspension had been lifted, and there was no visible acknowledgement of renewed communication between Midegah and church leadership. Then in the fall, something surfaced publicly. Chief Midegah posted a photograph on his Facebook page showing himself standing with President Joel Geely and other leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ inside an airport. The image raised questions because up to that point, there had been no public indication that the relationship had resumed or been formally reconciled. Also, on November 17th, Chief Midegah sent a letter to President Geely, to other church leaders, and to a wider group of recipients. In that letter, he wrote the following: Dear President Geely and the Quorum of 12 Apostles, we want to express our warmth, love, and gratitude to the Church of Jesus Christ and President Joel Geely, Sister Ruth Geely, 70 Wayne Martorana, 70 Stacy Light, and 70 Juan Rivera for attending La Ventana Historical Village for a private ceremony to name the bridge and achieve reconciliation. On Saturday, November 15th, the Church of Jesus Christ met with several leaders and observants as witnesses. Number one, the official ceremony naming the Bridge of Unity and Peace was established with video coverage achieved, which will be released to the Church of Jesus Christ. 2, an official apology was received from President Joel Geely, and likewise apologies from the Maya Quetzal Governance Council were received and accepted by the Church of Jesus Christ, with reconciliation achieved and forgiveness on both sides for all past problems and offenses. 3, a request was made to the Church of Jesus Christ in providing all Book of Mormon Nephite records for all future ceremonies beginning in March of 2026 at a schedule to be established working in relationship with 70 Wayne Martorana and 70 Juan Rivera. 4, a request was made to the Church of Jesus Christ in providing teaching assistance on the Nephite record in person at official ceremonies as well as in messaging for children, youth, and families. Now, it's important to note that this letter to President Joel Geely does not appear to have been public knowledge, at least as far as we can tell, to the general membership of the Church of Jesus Christ. On November 20th, Chief Midegah posted a video to his YouTube channel showing excerpts from the bridge ceremony, along with footage from the private reconciliation ceremony involving President Joel Geely.
David.
So if we take a step back, what makes this story significant isn't just the personal disagreements between Chief Midegah and the Church of Jesus Christ. It's what the relationship represents in a broader Latter-day Saint context. For a period of time, Midegah was a highly visible and symbolically important figure within the church's public life, especially in connection to its outreach to indigenous communities and its Book of Mormon efforts. That visibility quickly moved from public enthusiasm to public conflict, including questions of authority, recognition, and oversight. The church responded with suspension, and what followed was a mix of public statements and quieter reconciliation efforts that later surfaced through letters, photos, and videos. To be clear, the Church of Jesus Christ never identified Midegah as the choice seer, never called him Joseph. And there's no indication that the church officially viewed him in that role, but some of the language and symbolism involved carried associations that many Latter-day Saints would recognize as theologically significant. From here, we have to watch how the situation continues to develop. My friends, this is another installment as we're trying to dive into these sacred records. In Dr. Blythe's Lost Library, this is my effort to always bring forth obscure facts, obscure stories in the Latter-day Saint experience. This is one that may involve fewer Orthodox Latter-day Saints. It's admittedly people on the fringe of our communities and within minority denominations. However, they're still part of our larger community. What would it feel like to be in a situation where it wasn't quite certain how your church leaders were responding to what felt like, to many people, a large Nephite hoax? Join us next week for another installment of Dr. Blythe's Lost Library. We're going to keep ticking away at this, but in the meantime, we're going to take a moment and dig in to the story of a community in Manti, Utah, who decided, after studying the writings of a man named Robert Three Eagles, a Latter-day Saint influenced Native American of Cherokee descent, that perhaps they could be adopted as a native tribe. Join us next week where we look at the organizational minutes of a group briefly known as the Unchi Nadihi Nanak. See you then.